Welcome to the Narrate podcast, where we aim to tell God's story with our lives. We'll be continuing to post the Sunday message each week, but we want to dive a little deeper and offer some content to supplement your life with God, and that's where our Beyond Sunday series comes in. Join Adam and Narrate staff as they provide thoughtful discussions, ideas, and interviews that go beyond the message you'll hear on Sunday.
So really my goal is twofold. One is just, I remember when, I think we were at the Windbag when I first was like, hey, would you think about joining the council? Like the old Windbag. Yeah. So I just want to hear your story of like what has that, because at the time I remember you saying like, I'm not qualified for this or whatever. And what I remember saying is like, we want to give younger leaders this experience because it's such a good room. Mm-hmm. And now you are one of the senior leaders. So what are the high points for you of council as you think back on it?
Yeah, I mean, for sure one of the high points is just getting to be around the amazing people that make up the council. I mean, just thinking like, when else are you able to be in a room with people of that quality from a faith perspective, but also just a wisdom perspective, and just the different backgrounds that they bring from business side of things to their different faith backgrounds. So that's definitely been a highlight. I feel like I've had an opportunity to learn a lot in there.
Across all those different domains.
Business stuff, HR stuff, denominational, organizational things. I think those have probably been kind of the two big highlights, is just the people I've been able to be around in those rooms and the learning opportunity it's been.
Yeah. What part of what I've learned in this process is that people's associations for what it means to be on a board are so negative.
Yeah.
But I think you've had such a important role, and so is it 10 years? How long is it?
Yeah, I just looked. The email I sent you kind of accepting your invitation was July of 2015.
Whoa.
I know. I didn't realize it had been that long. I think this weekend on stage I said 9 years, but it's...
So it's 11.
It's been 11, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, which even when I say that, like, I think I'll always be a little bit sad that we'll never have those long of runs again.
Yeah.
I'm obviously persuaded that it's the right thing, but and if I was advising a church plant, I would absolutely tell them to build the council slowly and not rotate it for a while. But
yeah, man, after seeing just how the room has changed with the rotating council, it would be so hard to not be a proponent of that.
Really?
And I get what you're saying, because it does seem like it's worked out well, but just
how do you say more about that?
Just think that the opportunities to just get new insights and new ideas in that room, people with different backgrounds just bring to the table, those different ideas. And I think it's just been refreshing. Yeah.
Interesting.
I've sat in there sometimes and just been like, man, I'm kind of a one-trick pony and my tricks are all used up in here, And so I think you kind of get to the point where maybe for me, I've been on it for so long that it's just like, man, are my ideas and insights, like I've shared a lot of them over 10 years, like, do those remain valuable at all? And not to say that I get the sense that they're not, because I always have felt like my ideas are always welcome, and I really valued that. But yeah, just getting to hear from new people in these new meetings, just kind of sit there and go like, I need to be out of a job. Like, this fresh perspective is great. Yeah, I think it's been awesome.
Appreciate it. I think that there's a balance there, because on the one hand, I would say the existing student ministry, especially under Alyssa, like that legacy belongs to you. You've graciously, patiently, non-intrusively, and yet persistently for years been like, have we thought about this? And what does this look like? And so, that's a huge tribute to you. And I bring it up because it's like, there's a weird line there, because the we don't want the primary role of the council to be vision.
Yeah.
And especially not pushing their ideas.
Right.
But I think you've done that so well by way of curiosity and relationship and time. But as we sit here and think about you moving off, I'm like, oh man, I don't want to create rank, but that a lot of the credit and the vision and the imagination in me comes from you for that. So that's cool. Good job. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
But it's interesting
the work Alyssa's done to build the youth ministry has been incredible.
And we got I don't know if I sent this out to the council text, but we officially landed St. Andrews.
Oh, no.
So they'll be in a gym next year, which I think is, I was telling Alyssa, like, man, that's been 16 years we've been trying to find that. I mean, that to move them out of 326 into a gym with basketball hoops and
burn a few more calories in the gym than they can in 326.
The people, I mean, I know this from my own years, the students who want to stand in the corner and talk, they can still do that. Mm-hmm. But especially the young males who don't have the ability to stand or the desire to stand in the corner and talk, suddenly you're playing lightning while trying to be meaningful in relationship. I mean, I have really positive memories from my years of just the before and after at the gym. Yeah. That'll be really good.
That's neat.
And just the quality, I mean, I would just imagine the quality of life for the leaders. Again, like if you're a middle school leader, you're not like sitting there trying to entertain students in an auditorium. You're throwing a ball or...
A little easier to, create activities in that fun space.
Yeah, so I think I broke my own train of thought there because you were talking about, I mean, I love that you see the value of that rotation. And I guess to be clear, I do too. But even like this week in the email chain, I think part of what's become clear to me is it's going to be a constant revision casting. So even this week, and I'm not trying to pick on anybody, but the weekend report came through and they're like, hey, wait a minute, why wasn't there a Sunday last year?
Right.
Well, you knew. It was like, well, because there were less Sundays last year in May.
Yeah.
Which those aren't big deals, but I am aware of like, oh man, there's going to be a constant re-education.
Right.
Which is okay.
Yeah, I do see that as one of the downsides.
What have been the hardest, like, as you look back on your tenure, again, naming that, because quite frankly, again, part of my ambition here is to hear from you and honor your service, and part of it is I think I've just become aware that we had vision casting work to do to tell the story of this isn't a horror experience. So I'm not wanting to curate out the horror.
No.
But I mean, I've been surprised at the number of people have said to me, like, I was on a board in the past and it was horrible.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I'm ready for that again. As you think back, what have been the harder points for you or the harder things?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess two things kind of come to mind as far as challenges of being on council. And I don't think there's a whole lot of overlap, so I'll just kind of address them separately. One, I would say just one of the challenges is just dealing with things that are just naturally conflicting. So, for example, like a staff conflict issue that has come up in the past that could come up in the future. I mean, those are just challenging things to deal with. Staff departures, even if they're leaving on a good note, like it's a challenge finding new staff and kind of figuring out, the ideas for plugging those holes.
That's true. We've been pretty good the last few years in that department.
And I guess that, just maybe the staff side of it. Some of the budget money conversations that we've had, I wouldn't say there's been major conflicts, but sometimes those at least require a lot of energy. And so, at times, I guess there's, an energy zap that can come from some of those conversations, especially ones that last a long time where it's just really hard to find resolution. Yeah. But that's also the beautiful thing about it is, I think, one thing that has been a really cool culture precedent that you've set for council is that there's a willingness to have these like long conversations over difficult topics, like just table it, bring it up at the next one, table it, bring it up at the next one. That kind of reminds me of like this value that that I think you've brought, unless it was somebody before me, of just not voting on things and just making everything a discussion. But sometimes that lends itself to the discussions just going on, and
right.
At a certain point, you're like, can we just get to a decision on this?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And then, the only other kind of switching gears to a new topic challenge, and this is one that I think is more just probably some background issues that I need to figure out how to deal with. So I don't know that it would be across the board for other council members, but it's probably a lot of it is just kind of my work background, where chain of command is such a big deal. And the idea of like fraternizing with someone who's on a different level than you might be at is frowned upon. That really? I think I've kind of developed this sense that at time, like, I'm on council, does that mean that I can't interact with somebody in a certain way or a certain environment, or that I should be, or that I can? Just
interesting.
Instead of looking at it more as just like an informal role, I think there's been times where I've looked at it maybe too formally in that way. Wow. And that's potentially been, led to some hurdles in like how I interact with
just maybe like
staff people. Yeah. Socially. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Like folks on staff, or people we see every Sunday, volunteers. So I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I think this is more kind of just retrospective. Is that looking back? Is that the right word?
Yeah, I think so. Although I use the wrong words all the time, so who knows?
So I don't know that, this has been something consciously that I've been thinking about for the last 11 years, but kind of been reflecting on it.
Yeah.
If I was giving advice to someone else, I think I would say, like, maybe don't take take it seriously, but don't take it as serious as maybe I did, from the standpoint of it causing potential hurdles with relationships.
Where just like conflict of interest kind of things, it seems like, is what you were...
Yeah. Exactly. Which I don't even know that that's a real thing, but it's definitely a real thing in, my work background. And so I think I've just carried that perspective over, and probably kind of to an unhealthy degree.
It's really hard. I mean, in my world, it's constantly coming up in my professional circles of what's technically called dual relationship. And on the one hand, they would say your friends can't be a part of your church. Like, you need to build a friendship network outside of the church. And I respect where that's coming from. But then there's also this, like, I don't know. I think Jesus did friendship really well. Yeah. So I get you're the second person to rotate off now that had said one of the burdens that they were, and this isn't the way you said it, but what I've recorded as one of the liberating things about going off is not feeling as responsible when you're sitting in the room, or as decisions are made, which I guess is both good and bad, that you're taking that seriously, that people are coming to you. Again, it's kind of like the way you talk about the idea thing of a person who steps on council who has an agenda for the vision is just, they're a terrible candidate for council. But at the same time, there's room for vision. It just it's like the person who suddenly feels like they're wearing a badge that says council, that's probably a bad sign. Right. But at the same time, the fact that you feel that responsibility, I think, is a good one. And because I do think, this, as I've thought about, what is the legacy that people like you have created, and how has that helped define the role of council? I think you, and I would even add like your whole family, like you've done such a good job of being present. And I think especially for the staff, like, you never want it to be an expectation, but it's a big deal to the staff when the council are around and supportive and participating. And I think I'd like to think A came before B, but I think so. Thank you to you and Lindsay and Gavin Sage. Like, I think you guys, you're exemplars in just your present, which is huge.
Yeah, that's nice to hear, because I think that is one of the kind of roles within council that I would say isn't heavily defined, is how much involvement do you have with staff outside of informal, interactions.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of probably personality dependent. And I think about Jim, that was probably one of his skill sets, was being able to be involved at a different level than I've got the skills to be involved with the staff. But no, so I'm just saying, like, there's a part of me that feels like, oh, you know, maybe I haven't done enough to support the staff. But so I appreciate the comment about, just being present. But
I actually think you and Jim did it very similarly. Like, it's not like, I mean, Jim and I weren't hanging out all the time. He had a way of offering 1 and 2 sentence comments every once in a while, and you know, you can still picture him working the front gate at Ales for Trails. Like, he would have never personally needed to attend Ales for Trails. Yeah. But he'd stand there in his raincoat and get dumped on, and so, and there's a line there, because you don't want it to become an expectation or a roll call, but
right,
as we all learned during COVID, like, a council that's present is also, it's even seeing you and Lindsay at an Ash Wednesday, that's a big deal, I think. So I appreciate that. Your wife would be a great council person someday.
She would.
You just got to get her on there.
I know. She's eligible now, right?
Exactly. So, yeah. As are you after one cycle.
1 year. Yeah. 1 year break. Yeah. It is neat to think about. There has been some part of me that, I mean, it's going to be tough and sad to leave council, but also as I've been just kind of reflecting on it, there's a part of me that is excited about what new opportunity it might bring to just get involved, serve, narrate some other way. Yeah. I don't know what that's going to look like, but it's been a while since we've hung out with kids or babies, so
sure,
maybe that could be a neat opportunity.
Middle school, calling your name.
Middle school. Well, we've got 2 middle schoolers, so I don't know about that yet. But
that's fair. Yeah. There's, I think presence is a big deal, and you've done that very, very well. So thank you. What is I feel like I often feel guilty because I feel like I gave you the title of warden while I'm still very much learning how to interact with that position. So I'm sorry about that. But what has that been like for you?
Well, the good news is that the warden you've got coming is like literally made for that job. Jolynn, I mean, she just exemplifies everything that in my mind, like what makes up a good warden is Jolynn. So
why do you say that?
Her demeanor, I guess, is just like second to none. I just feel like she has a calmness, but it's not even assertiveness. She's just got a confident calmness that to me like exemplifies what you want in a warden. Somebody that's just really thoughtful, very engaged, takes everything in, and is able to just offer just advice that just seems to be always on point. I don't know. She just seems like she was made for that job. So
you've just described yourself.
Like, oh man.
No, I mean, like you do all those things. I meant it sincerely. Like I know that I still have work to do in like developing the role in my head. And I think so I've got patterns to develop there, but to me, the main role of the warden is, again, like I get hit by a bus, and I don't mean to make that about myself, but I do think like that's the major role of the warden is who's the calming presence, who steps into the room with the existing staff and goes, really, it's like, how do we help? Yeah. And I think you do all those things very, very well. You listen well, but I guess awkwardly on recording, I'm saying sorry. I know I haven't always utilized you well, and kind of understanding how to do that is even something as simple as it's still not in my head of like when you schedule the next council meeting, schedule the next warden meeting. Like I'm just not. It's part of the disadvantage that we don't do things like the 4th Wednesday of every month is council. But that'd be an interesting question of, do you think council would work better if we did have just a like recurring schedule, or do you think we meet when we have an agenda still works?
I mean, it does seem like we've always got a full agenda when we meet, which is obviously kind of by design, and we're obviously engaged in some pretty long meetings, so maybe more regular meetings would be helpful. But at the same time, I think we have had time periods where there's just not a lot of new things going on where we don't necessarily need a meeting. So I like the way that we do it. I guess the advantage to that could be that it's just easier to schedule for everybody, right? Just get it on the calendar.
Right.
And instead of just choosing a date every time we're ready to make a meeting. But
yeah, like the first Wednesday of every, because I don't think we need 12 a year.
Yeah.
But it seems like we probably...
6 is like just not quite enough. Yeah.
Exactly. But we could probably together go like, you need to meet in September, you need to meet in November, you need to meet in January, you need to meet in March. What's that for? Yeah, and then summer gets tight again. You probably need one in June and August.
Yeah.
But
8 or so.
Yeah, that's probably about.
Yeah.
So I guess.
How are you thinking about choosing the warden going forward, or what do you think the process for that will be?
It feels really subjective to me. What made picking you easy? I can still remember the conversation I had with Teresa. I don't know what we were doing, just kind of passing through life. And like you, again, back to your involvement, like you know a Sunday so well by the nature of security team and just your consistent presence and you usher. Do you still usher?
I don't.
Yeah, but
no.
I mean that, so there's, to me, that's a really important aspect of it, of someone that kind of knows Sunday.
Yeah.
And like I said, you're very relationally present. I think those are important things. And it's funny because I would describe you and Jolynn in very similar terms of, if called upon to provide vision, you can, but having the ability to stay small when surrounded by people that it is their function to be visionary. So like if I were hit by a bus, Hannah, Leslie, Lexi in particular, Doris and Gay and all the different pieces, they may need someone to provide direction, but I think in the current state of Narrate, what would be really important is someone that can listen and champion.
Just how can we help?
Exactly. And so I think that's a big thing. And I also, it's a weird thing because there's not enough space for all 6 council members to engage. If you were to rate involvement from a 0 to a 5, like it's really not sustainable to have what soon will be 6 council members all operating at a 5, so to speak.
Right.
Having said that, I think I'm always, like, I have in mind right now who I'll ask to be the next junior warden under Jolynn, and I think you also want to see evidence that this is a person that has the bandwidth to engage in texts and emails and just like is communicative. I used to think that it should be male female every other year, but I've come off of that in that our staff is still majority women, and so that's as likely to go poorly as it is well. Like I almost think like by pure logic, Jolynn will do great, and in a horrible situation would do awesome. But I also think all things being equal, it might actually make sense that it's a man more often than not. So I don't feel as tied to that. What would be your input for thinking about wardens?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. It's probably the person that is most likely to be trusted by the staff, and that's going to come from somebody that's just been around and is present and supportive in their existing just service roles to Narrate. Because that's ultimately, I mean, what you're really asking of everyone is to trust the warden in that instance, and it seems to be probably kind of one of the most valuable traits.
How important in your mind is it? Because the other thing that I haven't been able to figure out if this is something that has to be followed. How weird would it be if you were a warden in your second year, and just and then simply on council in your third year? Like, is it important that a warden's tenure?
I mean, I could see that potentially being difficult for a particular scenario, but I think, the quality of the people on council, for sure, the current council as I know them, and that I would expect every council member to follow, is just gonna, have enough humility to never think twice about not being in that role anymore, to the extent that that role, yeah, I think, I mean, just the culture that has been kind of set on council is just such a culture of being there to support that we've been so lucky that we haven't had like ego problems in there. And that's the only problem I foresee with that is somebody, becomes the warden and then isn't the next year, but is still there to have a say in things and somehow feels like their voice isn't being heard as loud as was before. But I just don't, I don't see that being a problem.
And that's just where, in me getting better at giving the warden leadership, leading agenda items and things like that were my intent. It's weird because it feels like the last 3 years of council meetings have been pretty high leverage. Like we went through seasons of problem solving with staff things. We had a pretty long season of really just like vision vetting. Yeah. And then obviously just the last few years with C4SO has just been such deep discernment work that, I think that it's been harder to do that, but I'm hopeful that I'll be curious to see how the nature of that changes. I'd really like Chris's pastorally led, staff implemented, council supported, and because that we tried to explain that in a podcast earlier this week that people have listened to by now of, in a sense, when the council voted to become a C4SO church, they voted themselves out of a job in the governance sense of the word, right? But we've never operated that way, right? So it's been you will have been a part of a season of high transition.
Yeah, as you say, talk about summarizing the last 3 years of council, and I think you hit it on the head with discernment. I just made a note of that's been one of the neat things to just be able to learn from everybody is how do you discern well, and what does that look like, and what does that mean?
What have you determined?
I think going back to kind of where we started, that it takes time, and it does require information. Like, you want as much information as possible, but you don't want to paralyze yourself with an overload of information. And I think one of the neat things is just learning that it's a team effort. It's group work that leads to the best discernment. So just thinking, my own personal life, what is that? How does that translate to my personal life after I leave this? It's just, finding community to discern whatever might be going on in my life, realizing that people, may need help and may be able to offer help in the discernment work that they're doing in their life. So
Jim Collins talks a lot about having a personal board of directors, and I've often thought, I've said this to several people, I don't know that anybody's done it yet, of what I've experienced personally by way of having a council, and this is why I often have some imposter syndrome of you guys sit around and help me think through my ideas and solve my problems. But Jim Collins definitely has an imagination for, everybody could have one of these, where you have what you're describing. I mean, I'm not into accountability groups, and it's probably even different than a book group, but just to have a group of people who meet with some regularity and have the ability to go trying to figure out, whether or not to take this job. Just the time of it. What do you remember about the season from when Jim passed to, because I remember there being some awkward meetings.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. I've heard you talk about that.
You don't remember it that way?
I don't think I remember it as awkward as you've described it. Not to say that it wasn't. But yeah, I mean, he was just so valuable in that room that I could certainly see that was there, and I just didn't sense it as much. But it took some time for sure, I think, just to figure out. I think what was tough is is we all respected the voice that Jim had, and just knowing that voice isn't there, but there's just no way to recreate that.
Right.
Like it's not
it must
an
be
opportunity where you're like looking to, like, suddenly I'm going to take Jim's perspective on this and try to offer what Jim might offer on this.
Right.
So I think that was the tough thing, is you knew that you were just losing such a wise voice. And that in and of itself, I guess, could lend to some awkwardness.
And he was the voice that, like, if he spoke, it was like, yep.
He was.
Right? Like,
yeah.
But he didn't, whatever the opposite of overplaying that, he was the opposite of overplaying that.
Yeah.
I bring it up just because it does seem like part of what has to happen with counsel is you can't just try to, like, recreate the magic. You got to just let the room settle in and figure it out, and hope that like, I thought this year Chris and Marla coming on did a great job of being present, but, like, letting their presence build over time. They didn't come, like, shooting out of the gate. That was, to the extent that was intentional or not, I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that.
What was it like in did being on council have any impact on your wife or kids? Like, what was that like?
Well, my wife definitely knew she didn't need to cook dinner for me on those nights. So that's also, I mean, I assume most people know this, but just in case someone's listening, curious about counsel. So one of the neat things is sharing a meal. I mean, that was practice well established before I got there, but it's always fun to look forward to eating after work. But just having some time where we know we're not talking business and we're just kind of catching up, and just the value that we've always had for that. I just always look forward to that time around the table, eating, catching up. But yeah, I think, some of the same things that I probably learned, I've talked about them for sure with my kids and Lindsay. And so I think it's been an opportunity for them to better understand just, like, the behind the scenes stuff of church that is, you go to church, whatever part of your life, but you're not involved in this sort of thing. There's so much that happens behind the scenes that you really don't, appreciate. Like, I would say that's also one of, I think this was maybe one of your first questions, like, one of the high points of counsel was, I think you appreciate more what happens on a Sunday than anything, because you just get to see, like, how much work goes into Sunday and how intentional you are and the staff, and just, like, how much work you guys do. It's so easy just to show up on Sunday and, like, oh, did they just think of this yesterday? Like, this sounded great, but, like, I mean, just to know how far in advance you're planning, the music team is planning, how much work Hannah's doing with the hospitality team, and
cool.
And so I think that's been one of the things that I've hopefully communicated to my kids, and I think Lindsay already appreciates that. But, like, when you go to church, hopefully for the rest of your life, like, this is not just these people's lives showing up on Sunday. This is, like, the result of just a lot of behind the scenes work to make this happen. So,
did it ever a complete subject shift? But what the other thing that came to mind there was, did you ever have to navigate triangulation, like side hallway, like people in unhealthy ways, or even in just honestly but dysfunctional ways, trying to engage you as a counsel person? Like, did you ever have to, was that a thing?
I don't think so. Give, like, what would be an example of?
Oh, I mean, just kind of your classic church or organizational gossip stuff.
Okay.
I mean, I think one of the things that we've accomplished really well is and that's part of the value of, like, legally we have to vote, but we've never formally voted, and it's Vern's the one that, I think Stan Simmons trained Vern who trained me, and part of the value is to prevent the, like, those four idiots voted for it, but I didn't. Like, to prevent some of that, but
I've never thought about that, man. That makes a lot of sense. No, I haven't. I mean, I've definitely had conversations where people have asked about certain decisions, how the council, what the basically discussion was of certain things that have come up. But I've never had somebody corner me in an unhealthy way and try to, like, pit me against a staff member or you or another council member or something like that. So.
Says a lot about you and Narrate. I'm really excited. Like last year, we rotated 2 off. Kyle and Steve, and then this year you and Daryl, which I think having 2 classes who have departed sets us up really well for the council kind of alum thing. And again, hopefully not trying to create some kind of, because to me the council at its worst becomes an exclusive club, and I like, you're not a musician, so you're never going to get to experience the teammanship of being on the band, and they have their own camaraderie. That's the way I think about council. Is it's largely for people who have a spiritual gift of leadership to exercise their gift to the good of the local church. And to that end, I'm so excited to start now experimenting with what does it look like to keep your high level of engagement and allow you to move into other areas, as you've said, and all those different things, but also to create these annual or semi-annual gatherings where we continue to value and pull out information. And I don't know why I'm saying that other than to say it's really sad to see you go, but I'm also, everything you've described I'm excited about, and there is something emerging of council kind of maintaining some kind of voice that I'm excited to see how God leads us through that.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that too. Yeah, I wonder, I mean, I'm certainly bummed to not be on council because I'm going to miss out on all these unique experiences that I've had and that I really value. But like you talked about somebody else talking about kind of the freedom that comes with being off it, and I guess I'm thinking out loud, like it's unique to everybody, but while I'm sad, like I'm also excited. Like it's like I just kind of feel like, hey, this is a neat opportunity for somebody else to get the same opportunity that I've been given. And to that end, like and then what new opportunities does this open up for me, ways that I can get involved differently. So all that to say, like, I wonder if maybe you're feeling a little more sadness about it than maybe the average person does.
Could be.
But
yeah, that's probably the
which
case.
I appreciate. I mean, I'm not saying that to diminish, honor that sadness for sure.
Sure.
But at the same time, I feel like kind of excited about it too.
Yeah, the whole process is trusting that we're not dealing with, like, it's an abundance mentality, right? That we're not dealing with finite resource. I mean, that was not only is it just healthy in church practice, but also, as Chris always described it, who was the first person to introduce me to the idea. I mean, technically we should have been doing this a long time ago, even by our old bylaws, but whatever. Is this the deepening of the well, which is exciting. Because, I think, so anyway. Yeah,
not to get into specifics, but because I'm on the nominating committee this year, I've looked at the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
I'm not going to reveal anything on this.
Sure.
Although I guess when this comes out,
it'll be complete.
We'll already know. But just seeing some of those names, I was like, yes,
it's a deep
these people
bench.
would be perfect for this. So very deep bench. Yeah.
And that's one of my biggest, I think my chief prayer and concern is, I was just telling somebody who was nominated and telling me that they're not going to apply this weekend. It's like, well, in some ways that helps because this process only works if people are pretty long suffering. Just the mathematical, like, what is it? The mathematical odds of, there's 17 applicants. So you've got, what is that, a 7.5% chance? Just the pure math of it is so low. And you look at that and go like, such great qualifications. So, and I think this year we had, is it 4 or 6 reapplicants? So that makes me hopeful, but it's not hard to imagine a world where someone their name doesn't get drawn out of the hat until the fifth year that they've been nominated and applied. And
did you get the sense that just after 1 year that there was any discouragement to the point that somebody wouldn't have been willing to reapply?
No, I think that's just me trying to like hedge off the worst case scenario. And also we've simplified the application this year. So last year it was like handwritten and stuff. And so my hope is by doing it by way of Google form, it's easier to just go like, yeah, I'll apply, just use, because next year there'll be this ability to go like, I think I could kick it back, because I could kick back somebody and give them the chance to edit it now.
Right.
Or actually the setting's just on there. Someone can get on there and edit it. To then just say like, well, if you want to change anything, go ahead. But otherwise, we're locked and loaded. So I think that would be. So no, not necessarily. But I just, also recognizing that, it's one thing to be hiring for a job and it's another thing to be applying. And we all know like the 6 weeks that you have to wait from interview to decision it still takes up headspace. Mm-hmm. So different personalities would deal with that differently, but super honored. And I hope that, honestly, one of the things that's been most surprising to me, and I don't mean this in a shame way, I've been stunned by how few people have participated in nominating. That like this year we had, was it 31 or 30, and last year I think it was the same
number. Yeah,
and there were several this year that didn't that nominated last year but didn't this year, and that I'm assuming is just people who didn't feel a sense of direction, which I applaud.
Sure.
But also I hope that we're developing a culture where people are constantly have a little bit of space reserved for who am I going to nominate next year? Or God, who would you have me nominate, if anyone? Because it's not hyperbole to say the quality of life of the staff. The council has a massive impact on that. So, to that end, thank you.
Yeah. Welcome.
Is there anything else on your notebook that you're hoping to say that I've not? You're the expert question asker, so I'm a little.
Yeah.
Feel a little inferior.
I'm in the wrong chair here. I don't like it. I feel very uncomfortable. The only other thing that I see on here is, and I'm assuming this has been talked about from stage, but just the value that we have at council meetings of praying for one another. I
don't think we ever have talked about that.
Always, just always valued that, kind of cherish that everyone's just willing to put everything to the side that we just talked about. And the invitation is to be vulnerable with something going on in your life or someone close to you. And then just, having everybody pray for you. It's just so powerful that, because, there's been obviously meetings where we haven't all agreed on whatever the topic is that we're talking about, but just coming to the end of a meeting and reminding ourselves why we're there.
Wow.
Through prayer is just, been really powerful. So
I appreciate that feedback, because sometimes it feels like, is this arduous? I mean, it's time expensive.
It is. Yeah.
Especially since,
there's been times, where it's like 10 o'clock at night and it's like, oh, now we're going to pray. And sometimes those could last another 10 minutes. And I don't know. I've really valued that. And I hope that tradition continues.
I really appreciate that feedback.
See reasons maybe why it doesn't, but that's been really good.
Thanks. Well, thank you. This is good. I appreciate your energy here and for the last 11 years. It's crazy.
Thank you. It's been an honor.
If you'd like to learn more about Narrate Church, find us online at narratechurch.org.
You can also look us up on Facebook or Instagram. Thanks for listening.